Wonderful. It's been a wonderful experience.
Tremendous, because this was a dream to me, to get a boat and cross the ocean and see the islands.
I think the Ark race as an idea is tremendous, and as it's been organized, it's managed to work against all the odds with hundreds of boats and seems to have come off as a tremendous success.
I was sure when I left Las Palmas that I was going to win the Spanish racers. I was the only one.
The special thing about this race for me has been the high number of women and families that have participated in it. And even apart from that, there has been a feeling of family all the way through.
In terms of number of competitors times the number of miles, is probably the biggest race in the history of the world.
As winter threatens northern climes, hundreds of cruising yachts set sail for the Canary Islands, traditional departure point for a transatlantic voyage to the sunny Caribbean. Las Palmas de Gran Canaria looks very different from 500 years ago, when Columbus pioneered this annual migration by calling here for repairs, provisions and water. Following in his wake in November 1986, boats from all over Europe and North America began congregating for a very special reason: to take part in the first race across the Atlantic designed specifically for cruising boats. These boats are not the sleek, high-tech machines built especially for ocean racing, but the kind that ordinary people own and sail for pleasure. Production boats off the assembly line, second-hand boats up to 50 years old, custom-built luxury yachts, and even those built at home in the back garden. Yet a special bond links all those who sail the oceans, and it was this camaraderie that inspired round-the-world yachtsman Jimmy Cornell to conceive the idea of Ark, the Atlantic race for cruisers. Las Palmas was chosen for the start of the race, which Jimmy hoped would make a safe and enjoyable experience out of what he knew could be a long and lonely passage. That the time was right for a race in which unsponsored, privately owned yachts could compete was shown by the hundreds of entries that flooded in from all parts of the globe.
The international response to the Ark has exceeded my most optimistic expectations. Over 200 yachts from 24 nations are gathered here in Las Palmas de Gran Canaria, in the very spot where the idea was born 12 months ago.
The reason I'm doing this trip is for the challenge and for the sense of adventure and the achievement in being able to do it on my own.
The Atlantic Ocean has always been a challenge, for some to tackle it alone, for others to do it at all, like one Norwegian sailor undeterred by his crippling multiple sclerosis.
There are a lot of things I cannot do on the boat, but I do the navigation. I have all the certificates for radio communication, and I do the sextant navigation if necessary, and also do a lot of steering. So I've been doing more steering than the other guys, but I have not been able to run on the foredeck, and I'm not strong enough to do a lot of winching, but I can be a hand in the cockpit.
There are no barriers for Ark competitors, certainly not age. The youngest is New Zealander Alex Plummer, born in Las Palmas only 2 months before the start, while 25 of the skippers are over 60 and have been sailing for many years.
I'm normally sailing a smaller boat than this. But I'm experienced from Navy, but that's going back to the wartime, just before the war, so old I really.
While 70 years span the youngest and oldest crews, a similar variety is to be seen in the boats themselves. Classic boats, which have been expensively restored, share the harbour with the latest in modern luxury. While some boats bristle with electronic equipment and every convenience, at the other end of the scale, small boats rely on the basic instruments used by sailors down the centuries. Among these, one young couple, refugees from Czechoslovakia, have sailed from the Mediterranean in their small, home-built boat. Arriving in Las Palmas with not much money, they have to set to work for other boats in order to replenish their funds.
My plan was 7 years ago. I trying to go out 7 years from our country and make this trip, but I cannot. And this year was for me happy, and I'm happy that I can be here, and I'm very happy that I can join this race.
Boats of all shapes and sizes continue to arrive in Las Palmas until the harbour overflows and space is difficult to find. Like the Czechs, many have come a long way, and quite a few have to earn their living as they cruise from place to place.
We left Turkey in September to come back to join the race. We started running into the boats in Gibraltar that were preparing for the race. There were many boats there, and we went on to Madeira, and there were even more boats. So many boats in Madeira we couldn't get into the harbor. And then it was like a big funnel coming into the Canaries here to join the ARC fleet for the last week and the festivities before the race. We've lived on this boat together for 4.5 years, beginning in Florida, Tarpon Springs, Florida, to the Bahamas, up the eastern seaboard of the United States, back to the Bahamas, and then across the Atlantic Ocean and into the Mediterranean for the last 2 years. So this is our home. We have no other home in the United States. Where the boat is where we are.
I'm an artist. I do batik, and I have an agent that's in California, so I do my work on the boat when we are in a nice slow place, and I send my work back there to be sold.
Several artists have their work on display and for sale, from fancy rope work to shell necklaces. Those with other talents also put them to use, and a hairdresser sets up shop on the quay at 200 pesetas a snip. Crew come and go, often having to pay their way to join a boat. The days are busy as all the crews work hard to make sure their boats are in tip-top condition for the 2,700-mile passage and several weeks on the ocean that lie ahead. Everything has to be just right for the big crossing. While rigging and spars are checked over, a few lucky ones find time to play. The women's work rolls on as usual, with all the household chores to be done without the convenience of life on land.
I enjoy it very much. It is a little bit different. Cooking equipment is slightly less, and the kitchen is, or the galley is slightly smaller, but we've managed very well, and when we've had friends on board, we've always split it up, sort of one girl does cooking one day, one another. And the other thing is tremendous fun shopping in different shops in different countries. You know, buying different things, trying different vegetables. That's been a lot of fun, yeah.
The age-old favourites of sailors don't change as whole smoked hams and stems of bananas are loaded on board. One of the last jobs to be done is the stocking up and stowing away of fresh provisions for the voyage. When all is ready, stores on board, fresh water loaded, sails, gear and equipment checked. A quiet apprehensiveness steals over the harbour. Not forgetting this is a fun race, on the eve of departure, the Municipal Council of Las Palmas puts on a huge fiesta for the participants. As sardines grill over open fires on the dockside, the 800 sailors from 24 nations have a final chance to get to know each other. For young and old alike, this will be the last time they could enjoy themselves on dry land for several weeks. Finally, on Saturday, November the 29th, the long-awaited day of departure arrives. Such a large armada of boats has never been seen before in the pleasure boat harbour, and many Canarios come down to watch the boats manoeuvring out of the port and to bid them farewell. Sporting the Ark race flag of blue and yellow, crew make a last check and start preparing their boats to make sail. One by one and in an orderly fashion, the boats slip their moorings and extricate themselves from the crowded harbour. Only outside the harbour do they start to raise their sails and begin to jostle for a position at the start. To accommodate so many yachts, the starting line is well outside the harbour and over 1 mile long. The traffic on the wide esplanade that runs for miles around the curve of the Las Palmas waterfront almost comes to a standstill as 100,000 people turn out to watch the start of the largest trans-ocean race ever staged. The bay fills with sails. The gun is fired, and the boats are off. Ahead lies nearly 3,000 miles of the mighty Atlantic Ocean. The destination, Barbados, the nearest island in the Caribbean. Although each skipper can decide his own route across the Atlantic, most of the boats dip down south to look for the steady trade winds that have made this classic route so popular with cruising sailors. On board the British boat Oyster Lady, the crew settle into their ocean routine.
Get on very well. Excellent.
How many boats have we passed?
Oh, most all of them, I think. There's one ahead.
There's one ahead.
3 Maron. There's another one out there.
The devil's chasing us.
That's the Irish one.
Dennis was the other one who talked to us.
As the boats fan out after the first few days, the sightings of other vessels grow fewer and fewer, leaving only the loneliness of the long-distance sailor and the vast, empty ocean. In a mid-Atlantic calm, the crew find time for a refreshing swim.
I think you should have put the rope on the front, you know, and pulled us along.
You in Barbados?
Tangled with my line.
There are many ways of passing the time at sea, and fresh fish for dinner provides some distraction from the monotony.
Yeah. Now.
Turn it off for a minute because it's too hot.
Yeah.
Stir in paprika, tomato puree and beef stock.
Do you see anything?
At last, Oyster Lady finds the trade winds, fills her sails, and takes off, picking up the speed that the crew have been waiting for. In the meantime, the fastest boats leading the fleet are already approaching Barbados. Little England of the West Indies, it's been called, and Trafalgar Square in the centre of Bridgetown is even adorned with a statue of Nelson erected before its famous London counterpart. Overlooking the waterfront where once the old sailing ships arrived to load sugar, the oldest parliament in the New World presides over a bustling city. In mid-December, crowded with Christmas shoppers. With the decline of the sugar industry, the major source of income for many Barbadians is now tourism, and the arrival of 200 yachts where once the old trading vessels moored is eagerly anticipated. The Bajan people pride themselves on giving visitors the warmest welcome in the Caribbean. In contrast to the Englishness of downtown Bridgetown, the rest of this island in the sun has a colour and brightness that is typically West Indian in flavour. At dawn, the fishermen bring home their catch, unloading the local speciality, flying fish. Taking many people by surprise in the early morning, the American trimaran Running Cloud crosses the finishing line ahead of everyone else, less than 14 days after leaving Las Palmas.
really surprised. We thought there were 2 boats ahead of us, because we met a freighter 5 days out, and he'd come across the boat, and they stopped. They talked on the radio, and they said, they told him about the ARC race. And so we thought there were 2 boats ahead of us by about 100 miles. We thought that must be Albatross and Moonshadow. And then we were listening to the Rawhide Net, and they came on and said Moonshadow was to arrive at 3 o'clock, but we didn't know if that was 3 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So we knew if they arrived at 3 o'clock in the morning, they were 2 hours ahead of us, and if it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, then we had a very good chance of being the first boat.
Only 5 hours later, Moonshadow did sail across the finishing line, putting in a very fast time for a boat built for cruising, not racing. Among the first arrivals who made fast passages is Ernst Torp.
We were very satisfied with the race. We hit the trade winds after some 6-7 days, and they were blowing steadily and strong, and we just broke a couple of sheets and a halyard, and had some damage to one sail, but really we had very nice crossing.
Okay, good morning, all on the yacht Antares. Victor Kilo 3, Alpha Oscar Tango. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Peter. Our position is 13 degrees, 20 minutes north, and 55 minutes, 14 degrees west. We have wind out of the east, 15 to 18 knots. Sea is a bit uncomfortable, but all right during the night. Clear sky.
We had contact with some boats in the beginning of the race, but then afterwards it was on the ham radio. We had every morning or every lunchtime at 12:30 we had the Rawhide Net, which we got in touch with other boats, and we discussed the positions.
The Rawhide Net, we gave it a name. It's kind of funny. It's if you know the cattle moving west. We looked upon the boats as a bunch of cattle that had to be rounded up into one group, and they had to be moved west. So we said, well, that sounds like rawhide to us, so we called it the Rawhide Net. Every day we had a schedule at 12:30 GMT, and then we took the check-ins of all the yachts that had either heard other yachts on VHF or any emergency traffic we took, and then at about 15 minutes later we had a weather report. One of the yachts had a weather fax machine on board, which gives a picture, a satellite picture of the weather, the entire Atlantic Ocean, all the way from the Canaries to Barbados. So we knew where the trade winds were blowing almost every day. And so the yachts, of course, that were in the race would listen in, and everybody would adjust their course according to how the trade winds were going. And that kept everyone a little bit together, but it was more fun because everyone was in contact at least 2 or 3 times during a week.
Still at sea, the crew of Oyster Lady avoid boredom shooting at clay pigeons, not knowing the excitement that lies in store for them.
But we got this Swan 46, what's it, Venture? No, Venture, I think, looming down on us from behind with just 50 miles to go now. Jan's clean shaven today, you can see, he's had a shave. Oh, Teresa's busy. Yes. It's not the Swan 46 as we originally thought. The Swan 46 is the one behind. This one is a Rutter Baron, which is a 44. German, yeah.
We have to put this up on the, this is the outside, on the Jenny halyard. That's all we have left. So.
What's happened to all the other halyards then? They were broken?
No. We never put them on. It was not necessary. No, we didn't think we were going to have a fight on our hands.
As the Rota Baron, the German Red Baron, chases the English lady, the crew decide to put up a fight. The larger, faster Baron overtakes them, but using all his skill, skipper Chris Vale manoeuvres the lady into the Baron's slipstream and hitches a ride.
And the sheet? Yeah, look for the sheet. Okay.
Oh, it's all part of the fun, isn't it? To race. They're coming to your port side now. They're doing the same to you now. Coming into your stream.
Doesn't matter. Dip out. Dip out. No. I can tidy it up though.
Against them. Surfing along. Wow. This is the third time we've got like in this position, isn't it? Ooh, hooray! He laughed at you, he knows what you're up to next.
The two yachts carry on their exciting duel over the last 50 miles, to end with Rota Baron just sneaking across the finishing line, only 2 seconds ahead of the smaller Oyster Lady. Another close finish, as night was falling, is between Shearwater and Ziggurat, two well-matched 20-year-old boats, both crewed by couples on their own.
Ziggurat, welcome to Barbados.
A Bajan welcome is waiting for the arrivals, with a steel band playing on the dock. The delivery of a bundle of Christmas mail from home.
Christmas card. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you.
And the cool, refreshing rum punch that Barbados is famous for.
Good trip, exciting. We had a lot of different kinds of weather, a lot of exciting things with our spinnaker up, and we're happy to be here.
Ziggurat is a 40-foot wood boat, still sailing competitive, we like to feel, wooden masts and the whole thing. I'm not a young man and my wife is not a young woman, but we sail just the two of us. We have nothing against having crew, but we find that it's more of a challenge when we do all the work and all the sailing by ourselves.
Now the arrivals start accelerating, with up to 30 boats coming in per day. In an area of Bridgetown Harbour specially reserved for the Ark race, a steel band drums out a welcome. A festive air takes over the dockside as earlier arrivals greet the newcomers and renew old friendships. Day or night, Mount Gay rum keep the ice punches rolling.
I have been the first Spanish ship arriving in Barbados. I was sure when I left Las Palmas that I was going to win the Spanish racers. I was the only one. I fly the Olympic flag for two reasons. First, because Spain, Barcelona, my city, was nominated to be the Olympic Games, to have the Olympic Games for '92. And second, because I think this race is a special, is the spirit of Olympics is in that race, because the question is not to win, it's just to participate.
Also assured of a prize for just participating was the one and only Barbadian yacht in the race. The catamaran Rack Attack is eagerly awaited in the centre of Bridgetown by friends and family of the skipper Richard Deere, sailing back home after several years of working in England. The inevitable rum punch is on hand to refresh the crew.
I think the Ark race as an idea is tremendous, and as it's been organised, it's managed to work against all the odds with hundreds of boats and seems to have come off as a tremendous success. And I'm just really looking forward to seeing all the terrific people that we've met on the race when they get in, all the little single-handers that are out there right now scurrying away desperately in their 24-footers. You know, it'll be wonderful to see everyone else when they get there.
Surprising many people, the first of the 10 single-handers to arrive is the only lady among them, Noelle Corbett. While banishing her husband to crew on one of the other yachts, Noelle had kept her dog Joe on board to keep her company.
Being on my own, I didn't mind. I'm not saying I like my own company, but I can put up with my own company for that time. It was good having the dog on board because he was good to talk to. It may sound very strange, but he was very good company, and also he was something I could look after, even though there were, or there could have been, one or two problems. I didn't encounter these on the way. The only problem I did have with the crossing was I had a spinnaker that wrapped around the forestay, and I had to climb the mast 3 times to unravel it.
A single-hander who ran into serious trouble was Takis Kalogroulis on Blue Trout, an old wooden boat built 50 years ago. Developing a leak and taking on water, Blue Trout put out a distress call, which was answered by fellow Greek yacht Papa John, not taking part in the race. This yacht stood by and accompanied Blue Trout all the way to Barbados, where she's towed into the dock with the help of other participants.
And twice in the Atlantic, he came and he gave me food, cooked food, because they would say, oh, we cooked this, we cooked that. I say, really, eh? That's not fair to talking about cooking while I'm starving and I'm opening tins all the time. So they say, okay, I will come and I give you some cooked food. So he came, in that time he threw a line, and I threw a line and we tied the food, and I gave him back beers.
Whatever difficulties they may have had, there was great pleasure and satisfaction for all the crews in arriving safely across the Atlantic.
Solia was built in 1951 to a design by J.B. Kearney, who was a very good Irish designer. And she's totally Irish, Irish built, Irish designed and Irish owned. So I feel I've certainly represented the country in that respect. She's immensely strong, and we had some very bad problems in the Bay of Biscay because we hit the tail end of the bad gales just before Ireland was lashed with the hurricanes and things. It was the tail end of a hurricane. So we survived that, thank goodness, and we had quite a difficult time getting here even to start the race. But the race itself, the Atlantic race, was superb. That was really fun. We all worked very hard and got here in quite good time. so we're quite delighted with everything in that respect. The race and everything about it, I think, was tremendous because there's so many people from so many countries participating. It's just been one great success, I feel. I was coming here anyway. I was coming with my boat to America. When I read about the race, it seemed a great idea to participate in something like that. And then having met the people in Las Palmas, you find they're just normal people like yourself that have sold their businesses up and doing their thing just to get here. And I thought it was terrific the way so many people ventured out across the ocean.
Yeah, it was the 11th of December as we made passage between Las Palmas and Barbados on this race. And looking log here, I see that at 12:30 I was down below cooking some lunch, and my wife was sitting in the cockpit. I think she was reading a book.
Yeah.
And there was just a big bang, and the boat lurched, and then started shouting that we'd hit something, and came rushing up. He looked in a bit of a state, and we'd no idea then at the time that we'd actually hit a whale, and then suddenly around the stern of the boat it just went crimson, and the whale came out from underneath us, and we were doing about 5 or 6 knots when we hit it. The boat then just carried on, and it started to fall behind us. It was thrashing, just going berserk. We don't know how long the whole incident took because we were just shaken. Everything was going really nicely then. It was reasonable weather, big swell running, and I say that the fact was we were keeping a sort of a 10-minute watch, having a look around every 10 minutes. When you're in the middle of the ocean like that, that's about the kind of watch you're keeping. You're trying to enjoy yourself, read books, a bit of cooking, and 10 minutes is usually ample to keep an eye out for shipping. And it was quite a shock to hit something that size. I say we are members of Greenpeace, and you know, we believe in looking after the ecology generally, not just at sea but on land, because it's not us, it's for future generations that are coming behind us, and it's just a real shame.
About 500 miles out from Barbados, we had a man overboard drill. I was doing a sail change, and she decided to play cat and mouse in the folds of the sail on deck at nighttime. And when I raised the sail, plop, in the water. Something, we couldn't tell what it was. Everything on board a boat we need. We thought, what is that? It dawned on us at the last minute. That's the cat. Although she looks rather nervous now, she's quite a sailor. She enjoys spending her time on deck helping me change the sails, and she got in the wrong place at the wrong time. And so she went in the water, and we took about 20 minutes by the time we got all the sails down, turned around, motored, and made our way back to her. There was just enough moonlight we could see this little spot, looked like the top of a black baseball or something in the water. And it was her. And so when I called her name, she started crying. And we backed to her and stopped the engine just in time before having minced cat. And I got a fishnet and got her back on board. And she was a very happy cat. She licked us all. And
for about a half hour, she licked us.
And then her favorite place on deck was curled up in that fishnet.
Also needing a close watch kept on them are the many children in the race, whose parents have made sailing the oceans their way of life.
Children adapt to anything. I think we had more of problems because we wouldn't be able to sleep during the day because we had to entertain the children. And as long as the children were fed and had somebody to play with them, they were ever so happy, and we kept the same routine as we would living on land, and it worked out really well.
Well, I don't think that it's any more difficult to have a baby on a boat than it is to have a baby in a house. It's just a different situation, and you must make concessions to the situation, that's all.
What disadvantages there are in having a baby on board are easily outweighed by the fact that we have a very close family life and know each other very, very well and grow up together. Well, this to me is a major bonus of this way of life, is that I get to see my son every day, all day, and I watch him grow up, whereas most fathers, of course, are working at least 8 hours a day. Generally, their children sleep most of the night, so they really don't know their own children, except perhaps for weekends. So this Alex here will grow up knowing very well both his parents, and both his parents knowing him. I think this is excellent.
I enjoy sailing because
it's nice and it's sort of easy once you get the sails going. And it's nice to have a boat and a dinghy, and you can go around the world instead of, because you don't use up that much petrol, all you use is wind most of the time.
I like sailing when it's nice and sun and peaceful. You find a lot of smart kids because they're kids which have been in other places than you, and you speak with the kids. How does it look there and there? And very nice, and you make a lot of friends. And you write and do things, exchange books. When I sail, I do math, school and reading. We do maths, English, biology, geography, Spanish. In the morning we take turns in watches and look out for ships. If we see a ship, we call our mother and father, who sleep during the day, and read our books and play games.
In Barbados, reindeer and sleighs are hard to find. Yet Father Christmas still comes for all the Ark children at a party thrown for them by one generous Barbadian family, eager to show the hospitality the island is famous for.
They told me I'd forgot one. They said some of you come from all over the world. This is bound to be a tank. For Martin from Sylvia. Are you Martin?
Oh!
Right.
And here's my sister.
Do you think I've got one for her?
Maybe.
Maybe.
With cells or with atom bombs?
Carl.
You spelled it wrong, it's a K.
Why? Where's Carl?
That can't be mine, it hasn't got a K on it.
Well,
I don't think it is.
pretend it's a K. I'll have to give that fairy 25 lines.
The special thing about this race for me has been the high number of women and families that have participated in it. And even apart from that, there has been a feeling of family all the way through. And nothing is better than today here with all the children who sailed across the Atlantic. We have children here from England, America, New Zealand, from Sweden, from Finland, from France. I can't even remember all of them. And that is how the Ark race has become, is one big family and a lot of very brave and very good children who've done this big ocean crossing.
I want to say one thing, what was the most important for me on that race, because I'm a mother and I have a small child, and I have no race meaning, but the best thing was for me that I feel more security, more safety on the sea and to leaving for a crossing, because I think that we can discuss with the radio with other boats, and if we got some troubles, you know, we can contact somebody. Because I'm not sure that maybe without that race I would say no to my husband, that no, we are not crossing along the Atlantic. I didn't feel that we are going alone with the family.
With the crossing behind them, the crews relax and enjoy themselves in the Christmas sunshine. Some compete against the local yachts in the Mount Gay Christmas Regatta, while others try their hand at racing model yachts instead.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government and people of Barbados,
let me welcome all 203 yachtsmen, women, and their families and their friends to the wonderful country of Barbados. There is some joy in being able to say that all of those who set out to come here have actually arrived.
The last small boat slips in just 1 hour before the presentation ceremony, where a multitude of trophies and prizes are given away, not only for speed and performance, but also for other achievements in the spirit of this race for fun. The winners of the Ark race for the best performance on handicap are the Hinnanen family on the 30-foot finish boat Moller 3. But winning a prize was only a small part of what the Ark race meant for those who sailed in it. Even more was the achievement of crossing the Atlantic in a small boat and of participating in an international event which cut right across national barriers.
It's been a high point in my sailing career. You know, I've been sailing since I was a little boy, and this is probably, I'm getting so old now, I probably won't race anymore, but it was a high point in the end of my racing career.
We've sailed probably 30,000 miles by now. We learned so much about sailing on this trip that I consider that quite a real investment in this race, at least an investment in my own ability to sail better.
Doesn't exist anymore, I think. The Belgian flag or the Swedish flag is the same for me. We're all, it's one unit, it's common, it's, for me there are no borders anymore.
I think that the people of Barbados have enjoyed having these yachts here and having the people in Barbados. I think it's been a marvelous thing for them. I think they have enjoyed it tremendously, and I am sure that they'll be looking forward to this race for many more years to come.